You know, it wasn't always easy. There were times when I wondered
541 pounds of cocaine coming to South Florida from Haiti.
if I really could make a difference.
You saw a lot of prostitution. You heard a lot of shooting.
The drugs.
No money, kids would fall away. Could I really change anything around here? The last thing I ever thought I'd do was a Christian. I read the Bible cover to cover, and I really felt the Lord say, you just do little acts of love, and I'll do the rest. I had been a pretty serious radical hippie. Not just the sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but also really wanting to change this country.
You know the day destroys the night.
I was given the name Sunflower. I'd gone from being a hippie into politics in D.C. I was working with a large lobby group that was working for campaign finance reform, for open meetings, to try to make government better and more of the people. And I saw the best of the people in D.C. wheeling and dealing and lying and cheating, and said, this ain't gonna do it. The only way to change this country for better is to change people's hearts. And I didn't have a clue how to do that. The last thing I ever thought I would be was a Christian. I hated Christians, but I started seeking after truth. And I read the Bible cover to cover. And in doing that, I met God, the living God. And he totally blew my life away. I had to rethink everything. My attitudes toward people, toward women, toward everything. Yet I didn't know any Christians. The more I got close to God, because I knew that was my priority now. I mean, nothing else mattered. I took odd jobs just to pay bills, but I spent my time seeking after truth. The more I did, the more I felt compassion for the poor. And I had been thinking of going to India or China, someplace where there's a lot of poor, but I felt God speak to me to say, stay in the States. There's still something to learn, something to do. And one day I was praying in Texas about where to go, where are the real poor in America. And I was thinking about the Mexican border towns. And suddenly, while I was looking in my mind's eye at a map, Miami lit up like a bright light. And as I watched lights shot out there, and I felt the Lord remind me of the great immigrant boat lift of Haitians in the early 80s, when up to 100,000 Haitians, they'd come on rafts and dinghies and little boats with leaks in them, with nothing but the ripped up clothes on their back to their name, into South Florida. And nobody knew how many they were afraid to go to any social services because they were illegal, and that was the place to go. This is where I came in my 54 Chevy pickup truck back in December of '82. I was walking these streets trying to find some place to live, and there used to be a thrift store down the street here, and I walked in and asked the guy if he knew of any apartments, and sure enough, he showed me that this upstairs was available. When I first got here, though, it was real quick that I just got overwhelmed. It was worse than probably anything you've ever seen. Shacks, you know, with roofs that leaked, and Miami gets rain all the time. Wooden places, a lot of which had been built as cabins for vacationers back in the 1930s and 1920s, when people would come down here for maybe a month and stay in a little wood cabin that was a 1920 variety. Now was housing entire families, 6, 8 kids. Sometimes people would come from their town in Haiti, and it was amazing to see them living in deplorable conditions, like this place behind me. This was the common thing on these streets back when I first got here in the early and mid-'80s. In the daytime, it was hot, lots of people walking around here, but just kind of crowded, Haitian-flavored city. But once it started getting dark, this, it ended up, was the hot strip for prostitution. I can remember one night, a crucial moment, when I was just feeling like, I can't do nothing here. One guy, what can I do? And I really felt the Lord say, you just do little acts of love, and I'll do the rest.
I thank the Lord for every morning He allows me to rise. And though the sun is shining, there's a cloud in the sky, letting me know that at any moment there could be rain. And as beautiful as life is, there still could be pain down the block. hear the sirens just screaming away. And then the inevitable happens, the ending of days, sad as...
I started teaching English classes as a second language for free. I wrote all my friends across the country, and they sent me boxes of clothes, and I'd have clothing giveaways. I went to a grocery store and talked them into giving me all their slightly damaged produce 3 times a week, and I'd fill up the back of my truck, and I'd go drive down the streets, pull off to the side somewhere, and people would just come and take whatever they wanted.
Can you imagine you're playing football and you're in the streets, and then you see a white guy offering clothes, fruits and vegetables to black Haitians, and you're like, okay, that don't look kind of right, but you were curious. Seeing PT in a blue, that big old Ford pickup truck, probably a 68, looked like it was about to break down. It was like, wow, you just watch. And he didn't do it just that one time. It seemed like it was a constant thing for him to come around, and he was nice to the people, and the people were open. At a time we thought it was crazy. Can you imagine the area we're staying on 79th Street? Come on, what white guy would do that?
One of my core beliefs is from the scripture that God's no respecter of persons. He doesn't care if you're black or white. He doesn't care if you're Haitian or American. He doesn't care if you're 15 or 50. He treats you the same way. If you treat him with respect, he will bless you and help you. And that's the way I tried to treat not only the Haitians, but the kids.
Here was a guy that that just came to be nice to people.
And when I heard from the headquarters that Tom Pokorni was starting to work with Haitian people coming on the boats to Miami, I thought, I'm going to call him and see what's happening. So I called him. I knew Tom from before, and I talked to him and said, Tom, what's happening down there? And he told me about what was happening in the ministry, and so I asked him if I could come down and be part of that. And he said, I've been praying for people to come on down.